So last night Warframe pushed a hotfix that was mainly focused at cleaning up some of the bigger issues that we got from the Jade Shadows Constellation update. Before the patch went live, however, they also had their usual dev short, the weekly one, and they talked about some of the fixes that were coming with that hotfix, but also a few things that were still being worked on and would hopefully be added in a hotfix later this week or maybe early next week. Now, Sirius and Orion have had major line-of-sight problems with their ultimate since release. A few of the new Incarnons have had problems. The Ballistica Prime was causing performance issues with its huge army of ghosts wrongfully working off multi-shot, and the Steel Path Railjack missions still need a lot more work. So let's get into the main stuff of the hotfix. Now, first up, the Ballistica Prime Incarnon. This was one of the more noticeable issues from the new Incarnon rotation because the Ballistica Prime's ghost mechanics were causing a lot of performance issues, and in the dev short, Rebecca and Megan explained that if every enemy you shoot starts creating extra ghosts, and those ghosts then have their own behavior, their own visuals, their own shadows, it starts to hit performance very, very hard, especially considering multi-shot was causing us to create multiple ghosts per enemies. I mean, yesterday I shot one enemy, there was a nullifier, and I think I spawned 5 nullifier ghosts as a result. Now, in the actual hotfix, they've improved the performance issues caused by the Ballistica Prime's ghosts, but the full issue of spawning all of those ghosts hasn't been fixed yet. That main issue of the ghost mechanic being affected by multi-shot while in Incarnon form is still there and will hopefully be cleaned up within the next week. Now, DE have said that the extra ghosts can be fun, but they also are useless and can block player vision, so they are looking to fix that as soon as possible. Now, for now, however, performance should be a lot better. Now, when it comes to the Vectis Incarnon, it also got buffed, thankfully, because it was probably one of the weaker ones in my opinion. We were told that the Vectis Incarnon's Lone Enforcer evolution was a bit low on its damage output, or I guess its buff, so they've buffed it even further. The Lone Enforcer evolution basically increases your base damage up from 50 to 75 on the normal Vectis, and on the Vectis Prime it goes up from 100 to 150. The multi-shot has also gone from 20 to 25%, and on top of that, the Vectis Incarnon's projectile speed has also been increased from 200 to 300. So straight buffs all around, more damage, a little bit more multi-shot, and a faster projectile speed when in Incarnon form. Now, the Incarnon definitely feels better overall with the hotfix. It feels more responsive, more powerful, but that explosion from the headshots still feels a little bit underwhelming when you look at some of the other Incarnons that came this week in the rotation. Look, it is a sniper, and snipers in Warframe are very niche in certain game modes, and with erratic movement from enemies and I guess them spazzing out in game, they always feel a little bit awkward to use snipers on just a normal mission, unless maybe you have Gloom subsumed and you're slowing them down, or you've got a slow Nova, or maybe you've got a crack shot aim. Then it wouldn't be much of an issue. Other weapons reward you more for aiming at the floor than anything else. Now, buffs are always welcome, so if you've picked a Vectis this time around in this rotation, let me know what you think of those changes. The next one up is the Obex Incarnon. Apparently, right, and I didn't know this because I didn't really use the Obex much, the Obex Incarnon was absolutely cracked. And I regret not having fun with it before they feckin' fixed it, because apparently the Obex Incarnon's Evolution 1 was giving you 8,000% finisher damage instead of the intended 80%, which is a very, very slight oversight. Oh, Potato, listen, we've sent you your wages this week and accidentally give you 8,000 instead of the 80, so let us just fix that. Felt like you've won the lottery only for them to rein it back in. Now, that of course has been fixed, so if you use the Obex during that short window where it had the 8,000% finisher damage, I hope you had fun. But that was not intended, and it was never going to stay. It has now been brought back down to the intended 80%. Now, DE also mentioned in the dev short they are still looking at other Obex Incarnon issues, including challenge progress, finish or stack behavior, so there will be more fixes coming for the Incarnon Obex, hopefully later on this week or next week as well. Now, the next one up, of course, is Sirius and Orion, our newest frame, the 65th. Pablo tweeted out late last night that they will be buffing Sirius's Jade Stars ability. They will get consumed and recharged faster, which are seen on screen right now. They will also guarantee status instead of the 30% it had before, and Arcane Hotshot will now work on a trigger off them as well. So that's a start to making, I guess, maybe Sirius and Orion's 1, 2, and 3 abilities feel a little more than just a battery for their ultimate, because right now all of those other abilities feel like they only really function for you to feed the ultimate. So you spam the 1, 2, and 3 just to get to that, I guess, that moment when you can cast that ultimate. And right now, that build-up genuinely doesn't feel great for the end result that you get with it. So I'm hoping that they look more at the ultimate damage as well, or how that functions, and as well the other abilities and how they function, and maybe buff Sirius and Orion that little bit more as well. But let me know what you think in the comment section about that. Now, the main fix, however, is for the ultimate, right? Celestial Clash and its line of sight. It has been the biggest, I guess, point of discussion for both of these guys, because Celestial Clash could miss enemies that were really close to you, sometimes even underneath you, and it felt like they clearly should have been hit by Celestial Clash. Another problem was that Orion's Event Horizon, that black hole, was supposed to work really well with Celestial Clash as a really good combo. You would group enemies up with Event Horizon, then you would hit them with Celestial Clash, but in practice, enemies inside Event Horizon were sometimes not getting hit properly, and it was almost like Event Horizon was getting a line of sight check and blocking them from taking damage. But in this hotfix, however, DE have fixed several of those line of sight issues with Celestial Clash. The first fix is that line of sight checks were being done on enemies within 5 meters of Sirius and Orion. Normally, line of sight abilities don't check that close to your Warframe, because the Warframe can end up blocking their own abilities. So in simple terms, Sirius and Orion would basically block their own attacks. That has now been fixed. They also fixed an issue where swapping between both of the suns could cause attacks to use non-player line of sight checks instead of the improved line of sight system. That was causing enemies to be missed more often than not, and this would basically directly help the enemies inside Event Horizon not get hit by Celestial Clash. So that combo should feel a lot better now after the hotfix than it did before. So overall, it's I guess a decent cleanup pass for Sirius and Orion. It is not a full balance pass, but it should make the frame feel a little bit more consistent. And like I said, hopefully they delve a little bit more into those abilities to give them more functionality and make the frame feel a little bit more enjoyable than he does, or than they do right now. Now, the other thing that is seeing lots of hot fixes, and rightfully so, is Railjack, right? Railjack is almost like an ancient Tenno curse right now. Anytime to do anything Railjack related, it feckin' breaks, and it turns out to be just a really lackluster update because Railjack has been tied to it. So we know that we've got Railjack Steel Path, but enemies in Steel Path right now are all kind of tanky as all hell. So they're looking at giving us Mark IV, I guess, armaments that will be able to build and farmable, which will allow us to be more powerful and I guess to deal with that Steel Path Railjack. But as it stands right now, you're better off just doing normal Railjack missions until those armaments are added. But they've also fixed a lot of issues, especially with Uranus Proxima missions, with the new missions for Vina and of course for Ryoku. Basically, the client not seeing all mission rewards at the end of the mission screen. They've also fixed several progression issues like host migration problems, performance issues from enemies, crashes, mission bugs, enemies not spawning. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot when it comes to Railjack. And I guess the big change to look out for in a future hotfix is, of course, the introduction of those Mark IV armaments, which are going to make us much more powerful. So I guess to just quickly recap, right, the big talking points from the hotfix last night and what is to come in future hotfixes, hopefully later this week and next week, is the Ballistica Prime's ghost performance have been improved, but the multi-shot ghost issue is still being worked on. The Vectis Incarnon has seen a buff in multiple different areas. The Obex had its 8,000 finisher damage reduced back to the 80% that it was supposed to be. Sirius and Orion's Celestial Clash should now be more reliable, especially with Event Horizon. Uranus Proxima got several fixes, and Steel Path Railjack is still waiting on the new Mark IV armaments in order to make it, I guess, viable. And DE also mentioned that there will be big Tennocon news today, I think it is, including what you're going to see on the floor plan, the stream details, maybe the concert, Twitch drops, and the event overall information. Some of the guys from DE are also going to be at an anime expo, I think on the 3rd of July in LA, where they plan to show Corvex Deluxe and a few different talking points in relation to Tennocon and what's to come for Warframe. But I guess the big takeaway from this hotfix is that basically DE are still cleaning up the Jade Shadows constellation and a lot of the issues. And some of these fixes went live last night and other ones are still being worked on. Let me know what you think of the changes in the comment section below. How you would like Sirius and Orion to see further changes, or maybe you're happy with them as they are. The Vectis Prime buffs and of course the Ballistica and its ghost multi-shot problem. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.